Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I got some stuff I wanted to show you. I haven't done a Volkswagen video in a while, so I thought I'd do a Volkswagen video. What I can do a Volkswagen video. Couple of places that I got cards for. This guy here, he rebuilds generators and distributors and carburetors. Actually, I think carburetors and distributors, but he probably does generators also. Pricey though. This guy here, he's pricey also, but the cool thing about air-cooled key is you can get not genuine Volkswagen keys, but you can get keys that look like genuine Volkswagen keys. The keys that he sent, I just sent him some numbers on my door handles, and he sent me keys. And these keys actually, they fit better and work better than the key that I had originally, the original key for it. Not necessarily original key, but I had a key that was cut. And but there is a problem, of course, because of my last name. See, you can tell the difference between the German key and the standard key, or the key that's aftermarket. The German key will say something on it. It'll have, this key is generic, it doesn't say anything on it. This key, come on Granny, works perfectly. This key does not. So you know, I wrote him, but my brother knows what I'm talking about because we share the same last name. And when you have that last name, the screw jobs start coming, and they don't stop. So, okay, back with that, or off with that. That's a couple of neat little things I wanted to show you. But something else I've got to show you is are these. These are pricey too, and I got endless grief about those people, or about those that I had put on my Volkswagen from people. And these are repos from Wolfsburg West, and they're not nitrogen charged. They're oil shocks, and so they will give the car the correct ride. I have the rears, and I have the fronts as well. Do you have to see it? You have to. Okay, there you go. So there you go. So we'll be putting those on later. I wanted to get a video going before this weekend so I could have something to upload, because I'm going to be kind of busy this weekend. But the one thing I wanted to address today is that. And this is Wolfsburg's fuel pump rebuild kit. So we're going to have a look at this, and we're going to take the fuel pump off my Beetle, and we'll try to get it so it'll stop leaking. So yeah, alright, let's get after that. There's our offender right there. I have had several people ask me about my engine and the noise it makes, and commented on it and such. And I've taken my distributor out, and I've smeared some grease on some Quaker State black fibrous grease on the cam and the crank gear, and then started it up, and the whoop 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 went away, and then it came back once the oil washed it away. So I know that's what it is. It's cam and crank gear don't like each other. Let's get this off. While I have the engine assembled and it does run, I can test my accessories, so I will be able to test my fuel pump again, make sure it doesn't leak. Okay, let's start the rebuild of our fuel pump and let's see what's in the bag. Well, let's see here what you got. Looks like you got a spring there. Let's see here. Let's see what's coming in our fuel pump kit. The spring. It's an aluminum piece. A Bakelite chip. New E-clips. There's two springs there. Let's see here. One is very fine. The other one is very Howard. I'll have to separate those later. Looks like I know what that is. And I know what that is. Some new gaskets. There's your fuel filter, ladies and gentlemen. So you don't need one of those big plastic gizmos in the, yeah, there you go. And there's that. And it looks like it's come askew. We'll have to put it back in skew in a pin. Okay. First thing I imagine we need to do is take that fuel pump apart. So let's take it apart. We'll take our fine spring from our Howard spring, and I don't know what that disc is, and I don't know what that aluminum piece is, so we'll explore that. Let me get the other one apart. Okay. I see why she's leaking now. Probably didn't pay enough attention to this. Probably. But it wasn't, it was sealed all the way around, but evidently it wasn't sealed on this piece right here. And this piece had come loose from this bottom portion. As you can see, it's all one piece kind of pressed together like that. And since that happened, it started pouring fuel out this little hole here. So the diaphragm had failed on this one. So okay. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is we'll take the spring out of here. I'm going to take these clips out of here, off here. Some of the stuff in this kit I'm not going to use. These clips, this pin, I'm not going to use a new pin. I'm going to use the old pin because that's not German. This is. There's really nothing wrong with that pin. I don't think I'm going to use a new one. See what you got here. Let's see if we can get this out of there. How's that coming up? Oh, I remember. Like that. This pump worked all right, so there's certain things that I'm not going to do. I'm going to use our new gaskets, and I'm going to use our new diaphragms and such, spring, that sort of thing. So I want to have a look at this. Here's the new piece. You don't know why you would want to replace that. Here's this little Bakelite disc underneath there. The original one is working flawlessly, and this little spring goes underneath that. So why should I mess with something like that? Because there isn't anything wrong with that. I would like to look underneath this and see what this is all about right here. Let's have a look. Since I'm only interested in fixing the leak, the fuel delivery was fine. Sorry, I get my hands in the way. I can't do it without my hands not being in the way. That's nice. Little piece there. And then there's this tiny little flapper valve. It's got a little bend to it. I think she's fine. Looks alright. I'm going to wipe that out. Clean that up. Alright, let me clean up these parts a little bit. They're really not dirty, but let me clean them up a little bit and we'll assemble this thing. But I can tell you, I'm not going to use this, probably these clips. You know, I think that spring's fine. And, yeah, I'll probably use this new spring. Not going to use that pin. Don't know why I'd use a new fuel filter. Let's examine these. Oh, secret squirrel. This looks exceedingly coarser than this one. This is the factory one, and it's very fine. This is a little coarser. I'm going to use my factory one. So there's not a lot of parts I'm going to use. I'm going to use more parts I'm not going to use than I'm going to use. Huh. Okay, let's get that cleaned up. Okay, let's assemble this. The little flap here only goes in there one way. I put it back in there. I'm a big believer in letting sleeping dogs lie. And this is not stuck or gummed up. There's this little micro spring underneath it. And this is staked in place. So I'm like I said, I'm a big believer in letting them lie, or you know, doing no harm. The only problem we had is leak, and that was due from the separating. So let's take our new diaphragm. Stick that on there. And I think what we can do is we can hook onto that. With that right there. If you push her down, I think I can get the hole lined up for this pin. Yes, indeed. You know, new stuff. I'm going to put the original stuff on there that was German, if I can. Little clip. The spring goes up in here, I think. Certainly just doesn't go in there. Little piece of crap on it. Get that off there. So I can press down on this and possibly send it across the room. Should go open that little, there you go. There's a little recess up in there. Goes up in there. I don't know, should I use a new gasket? That one looks a little aged. What do we got here? Made in the USA. Put our 2 microscopic screws in. I can't see if this is lined up on the camera or not. Let me see where this is looking. It might be looking somewhere else. Yeah, we could go over a little bit, couldn't we? Let's kind of scoot it over in the center a little bit more. How about that? And I'll just reach a little farther. Let's see here. I wonder if this goes in there a certain way. You think? They just don't look like they line up very well. And what's this all about right here? I see no tang. Do I see one on this? Nope. Huh. Let's examine the old one. Yeah, looks like it's kind of shrunk and wore out. Looks like it's made out of some different material a little bit. Maybe when it gets pushed down, it's made a little bit bigger, so when it gets pushed down, it probably, yeah, that's right. Okay, we'll just make sure and not pinch it with the screws. Was there a spring? Can't remember. Yeah, there ain't no spring there. Spring doesn't go there. I think we're good. I think we're done with that. What's this spring all about? That just goes in there like so. Then the spring goes on the top, I think. Yeah. Probably so. Where's the cap? Yeah, that looks like that goes in there. Can't remember how this come apart. It's been 5 minutes, you know. Okay, this is sitting on here like so. So we want the fuel filter in the front, so that's where we want that. So if we push this down, should be able to put the screws in it. Okay. Things seem to be lining up, look like they're lining up pretty good because I got it pushed down. So we will put the rest of the screws in. Crap on that one. I'm going to walk around it in a star pattern. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. Nothing looks bent, broken, twisted. Okay, that's right, that's right. I'm going to mount it there. The fuel filter's here. The hoses are there. That looks about correct. Some spooge up here. Get that crap off there. Need that. Now, this must go here, about like that, I'm thinking. And then this would go on the top. Go on the top or the bottom? I don't remember. Well, let's see what this says. This says here it goes on the top. This one went on the top. So I'll put this one on the top too. Sometimes you have to examine the fossil evidence. I want to get that askew. That little hole's not lining up like it should. I want to make sure I get my hole right. That way my Glaflaschen will work right, whatever it's called. Fuel pump in German. What's that all about? there it is. Okay. There you go. Okay, I made sure that the gasket isn't protruding out anywhere. If you look at this top, I'll show you here in a minute. Little curiosity here. If you look at it, it's not completely flat. It's flat at the corners, but it's, I guess that's how it's supposed to be. That's right. That looks all right. We'll find out in a minute, won't we? Come on, I know there's a slot there. There you go. Now let's put a little hook and tight on there. There you go. Now let's put the only fuel filter that belongs in the engine bay in. And a gasket. Millimeter. And I can hear it, so it should work. It's not bound up. It should work. Okay, let's go put this on the car and see what happens. And got our gaskets. There's the parts that we replaced. There's the parts we did not use. We can save them for later, but I didn't feel like this needed it. I was pretty certain that that would be the problem when this comes all separated like this. You're going to have fuel leak down through this diaphragm, through this hole, and it's going to start puking out here. So, like it was. Okay, let's put this on and see what happens. Okay, got it back on. Put some gas in our tank. Use our new Volkswagen key. I said they worked. Maybe they don't. Oh, that's a steering lock, sorry. Have our battery hooked up. Let's give her a couple of pumps. Maybe there's still something in the carburetor. I might have to crank a little bit. The battery might even be dead. Might be an idea to check that it's in neutral. Yeah, that looks like neutral. I sure hope so. I know I don't believe in chokes. Sorry. A lot of you say, hey, fix the choke on that. And I'm like, no, man. I don't dig chokes. I like my new VW key. If I can get my car buffed, I could put those doors together so they wouldn't rattle. Hint, hint. Oh, back to our fuel pump. Oh, that's just lovely. It's nice and dry. Look at that. Nothing. I think that would be a success. Last time was just puking out everywhere. So I'm going to call that a win and close this up and walk away. Okay, onward and upward. Today is July 15th. And nobody responded to my quiz about the lunar lander. 50 years ago, NASA put 2 men on the moon, 1 man in orbit, or around the moon. And I had a question about this. So Collins is up in the capsule here, and he's not very happy because he doesn't get to be on the moon. Okay. And so Armstrong and Aldrin fly the Eagle 1 down to the moon, and Eagle 1 looks kind of like this. It's got some like little spider legs kind of, and it's got some snowshoes on the corner on the end here, like this. And when Armstrong come down off of it, he had a little bit of ways here between the moon and the actual surface and the lander. It was a couple feet. And I asked what the significance was, and there was a biblical significance to that. And the first thing that he said was, it's going to be kind of a long step down, and then it looks like there's 1 to 2 inches of dust, and it's very fine and powdery. Now, why would he say that before he said his very famous, and I think those lines are more important than his very famous 1 small step for man, 1 giant leap for mankind, is because the NASA scientists were told that the Earth was 1 million years old. And they calculated how how much particles was in space. And they multiplied that times, a million years of collection on the moon. And so they thought there would be 3 or 4 feet of dust on the moon. So that's why they put snowshoes there. And that's why they knew the Eagle 1 was going to sink quite a ways. And Armstrong and Aldrin, they wouldn't have so far to step down because it would have been in there. That's why I put snowshoes on them. And if you do the 1 to 2 inches instead of the 3 to 4 feet calculation, and you do it backwards from the way they did this, you come up with the Earth is 6 to 8,000 years old. Solar systems, that's 6 to 8,000 years. Our solar system, anyways. 6 to 8,000 years worth of dust on the moon. That's a historical fact, ladies and gentlemen. That's up there. You won't see it on TV though, because the oldest thing on the Earth is a baobab tree, and it's 5,000 years old. It's 5,000 years old because there is a historical flood. It broke the land apart. It's biblical. You add a couple thousand years before that, takes you back to Adam and Eve. That's 8,000 years. It's because they want you to worship the state and not a God. They don't want you to think that there is a creator. So tell me that this isn't the Soviet Union. Because you'll never hear that on television, that's for sure.